कक्ष में आयोजित अटल संस्मरण व्याख्यान माला की आज की इस तीसरी कड़ी में आप सभी उपस्थितों, सभी आमंत्रितों, उच्च अधिकारीगण एवं पधारे सभी का सहर्ष स्वागत है। हमारे बीच उच्च अधिकारीगण मौजूद हैं। पूर्व मुख्य सचिव JN सिंह सर भी हमारे बीच उपस्थित हैं। आपका भी हम हृदय से स्वागत करते हैं। Ladies and gentlemen, we annually commemorate the birth anniversary of former Prime Minister Bharat Ratna Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji as Good Governance Day. Together, further understanding on good governance during the entire year of the 100th birth anniversary of the great leader, the Administrative Reforms and Training Division, GAD, Government of Gujarat, and Sardar Patel Institute of Public Administration, in association with the Secretariat, has organized the lecture series in memory of the great leader Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, whose leadership, vision, and values continue to inspire our nation and our civil service. We are indeed privileged to have with us today our distinguished speaker, Member NITI Aayog, who has held some of the most pivotal positions in Indian governance. Honorable Shri Rajiv Gauba, sir. We welcome you, sir. He is a member of NITI Aayog, a retired IAS, and I would like to request Shri Harit Shukla, sir, Principal Secretary GAD, to welcome Honorable Rajiv Gauba, sir, by presenting a bouquet. Thank you. We have with us today Mr. Mihir Wadekar, Officer on Special Duty to Member NITI Aayog, Shri Rajiv Gauba ji. He is an officer of the Indian Economic Service Batch of 2020. I would like to request Dr. Jai Shankar Odwani, Deputy Secretary, to welcome Mihir ji. Thank you. Welcome, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have with us today Shri Rajiv Gauba, Member NITI Aayog, as our distinguished speaker. A 1982 batch IAS officer of the Jharkhand cadre, Shri Gauba ji has served the nation in several key roles as Cabinet Secretary from 2019 to 2024, and the longest serving Cabinet Secretary in India's history. He provided strategic leadership across ministries and steered major governance reforms. Sir is currently a full-time member of NITI Aayog. Under his guidance, India strengthened its COVID-19 response, improved ease of doing business, reduced compliance burdens, and advanced the decriminalization of minor offenses, each a landmark reform. Earlier, as Home Secretary, he played a vital role in national security and internal administration. His tenure as Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Environment saw the creation of the National Mission on Clean Ganga. He also represented India at the IMF in Washington, helping enhance India's global economic understanding. And now, as a member of NITI Aayog, Shri Gauba continues to drive the next generation of reforms as India aspires to achieve the vision of Viksit Bharat at 2047. A visionary leader, a true nation builder, his contribution continues to shape India's governance and growth. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Shri Rajiv Gauba, Member NITI Aayog. Sir, we are indeed honored to have you with us today. I would like to invite you to present and deliver your address. Shri Rajiv Gauba ji.
Friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be part of the Atal Sansmaran lecture series and a privilege to speak to such a distinguished audience. It was on 16th December 2014 that Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji declared 25th December, that is Vajpayeeji's birthday, to be observed as Good Governance Day. It was the most appropriate way to honor his contribution to India's governance. A true Renaissance man, his tenure as Prime Minister witnessed a number of truly transformative initiatives. We are all familiar with the interstate highway story of the United States, commissioned by President Eisenhower post-World War II in 1956. This 78,000 kilometer network across the length and breadth of America completely reshaped American economy and indeed the American society. As John Kennedy was to comment later, American roads are good not because America is rich, but America is rich because of America's good roads. So under Vajpayeeji's leadership, India witnessed a transformation that was no less monumental. The National Highways Development Project was conceptualized and launched during his prime ministership. It was a 54,000 crore initiative at the prices of 1998-99, spanning 14,000 kilometers to link all corners of the country, including the Golden Quadrilateral, the East-West Corridor, North-South Corridor. And as per a recent study by IIM and National Highway Authority of India, the multiplier effect for economy was even higher for India than in the USA. Parallelly, the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana was started, and this scheme is now in its fourth phase and has completed almost 8 lakh kilometers of roads, connecting more than 1.5 lakh rural habitations. And these two projects have transformed the transportation landscape of India. He also started the project Old Age Social and Income Security, which ultimately culminated in the new pension scheme, which is a vital governance reform for fiscal sustainability. At a more fundamental level, he created the Department of Disinvestment. There earlier used to be a Disinvestment Commission, and it used to recommend minority stake minority sale of stake in PSUs. But this department, new ministry, for the first time spearheaded strategic disinvestment of some PSUs and some ITDC hotels. Government monopolies in telecom and insurance were abolished, paving the way for private players to enter, competition, choice for consumer, and a sharp fall in tariffs and explosive growth in mobile penetration in India. So one can say that Vajpayee ji institutionalized the philosophy of getting government out of business, of doing business itself, and redefined state's role as a strategic enabler rather than a provider of goods and services, producer and provider of goods and services. So this was a bold change in governance paradigm. Last 11 years, under the leadership of Prime Minister Shri Modi, have witnessed even more transformative changes in governance. However, a lot needs to be done, a lot more needs to be done. Many years ago, in 2012 to be exact, Gurucharan Das wrote a book titled India Grows at Night While Government Sleeps. Subsequently, he has changed it to India Grows at Night, a liberal case for a strong state. Now this title, this book should make all of us civil servants, past, present, and those who are aspiring to be civil servants, sit up and introspect as to why government is seen or perceived as a roadblock and not a facilitator. In spite of the fact that civil services in India attract some of the brightest youngsters, in spite of the fact that most of us spend far longer hours at work than our counterparts in most other countries or in international organizations. So in 2001, Government of India deputed me to work at the International Monetary Fund, and for the first time, having spent 19 years in government by then, I found that you are not required to, you just cannot go to office on Saturdays or Sundays. Nobody goes. Except twice a year when all the finance ministers and central bank governors congregate there for the annual and spring meetings of the fund and bank. And the next day, every staff member gets a mail from the MD of the IMF apologizing for having ruined their weekend. Now, this is something very unusual for us. But you see, the issue is that despite all our long hours and no holidays generally, unfortunately, there exists a wide gap between what citizens expect and what we are able to deliver. There are serious deficits in delivering essential public services, in education, in nutrition, health, public safety. 33% of our children, for example, even today, suffer from stunting, as per Portion Tracker of the Ministry of Women and Child Development. In spite of the fact that significant improvements have taken place in the last many years, in spite of the fact that we are running a ICDS program for several decades now, we have a huge network of 14 lakh plus Anganwadi centers. Similarly, as per ASER report of 2024, 33% of 8th standard students couldn't read a second standard level textbook, and 55% students were not able to do basic arithmetic functions. We also keep reading about frequent stampedes and collapses of bridges and hospital fires because district and municipal administrations fail to enforce the SOPs. I think we need to pay much greater attention to the unglamorous but important work of routine administration or basic governance. And delivering good governance has now become even more important, crucial, now that we are aspiring to realize the vision of Viksit Bharat. Viksit Bharat is an idea. Now today everybody is talking about Viksit Bharat, but we have to remember that Viksit Bharat was unimaginable even 3 years ago, until Prime Minister Modi articulated his vision to make India a developed country by 2047 from the ramparts of Red Fort on August 15, 2022. Before that, nobody had ventured to think so big. And almost overnight since then, so to speak, the idea has captured national imagination, and Viksit Bharat has become part of our national lexicon. This is nothing short of a tectonic shift, come to think of it, in how we think of our future as a nation. Prime Minister's call for Viksit Bharat was not a spur of the moment statement. It was based on solid foundation of wide-ranging policy reforms and regulatory reforms post-2014. There are numerous examples. GST, for example, which created a unified national market, the insolvency and bankruptcy regime, which filled a long-felt void in our financial system, corporate taxes and personal income taxes were slashed, faceless income tax was introduced, sectors like space and defense were opened up. Infrastructure, there has been massive scaling up. The national highway network almost doubled from 2013-14. It was 90,000 kilometers at that time to more than 1.5 lakh kilometers. Number of airports has gone up from 74 to 160. Metro expanded from 5 cities to 24. We now have the third largest metro network in the world. And anyone whom you meet will confirm, so testifies to the fact that the experience of travel in India by air, by road, or by rail has changed qualitatively. One can therefore say that when the PM spoke about Viksit Bharat, an inflection point had been reached. The takeoff stage had been reached. So from there you could think of, dream of Viksit Bharat. But then you needed an ambitious long-term overarching vision, strategies, and action plan. Otherwise, the activities or actions of central and state governments, ministries will remain uncoordinated and will lack the required coherence and the scale. So Prime Minister galvanized the system, and a colossal exercise of preparation was undertaken over the next 18 months. And now states have started preparing their own plans. Gujarat, incidentally, was the first one. But the question is now what? What next? What are the challenges that need to be overcome? Achieving Viksit Bharat goal will require taking our economy from $4 trillion now to 30 to 35 trillion dollars, which means that we have to grow on a sustained basis at 7.5 to 8% in real GDP terms. This is the foremost governance challenge. We have demographics in our favor. We have 65% of population under 35, a median age of 29. We are the youngest among the large countries. The median age is 40 in China, 50 in Japan. That is the advantage that we have. However, we need to create employment opportunities on a massive scale and equip our youth with quality education and appropriate skilling, without which the demographic dividend could turn into a liability. So this is the second task. 3, Viksit Bharat is not only about per capita income. It means also a lot of other things like universal access to quality health care, good quality education. Our HDI rank, which is currently 130, should rise to be among the top 25 to 30 in the world. 4, we have to also keep up the building of infrastructure. It should be comparable to the best in the world in scale and quality. Government of India has in recent years prioritized capital expenditure, which is the important governance reform. And states have been incentivized also to spend more on capital. This must continue. 5th point, we are a country of continental dimension. Our states and even some of our districts are bigger than countries. Gujarat, with the area of slightly less than 2 lakh square kilometers, 1.96 to be exact, is double the size of South Korea. And its population of around 7.1 crore exceeds that of the United Kingdom. There are at least 100 countries which are smaller in area than Kutch district. So our states need to think and plan like countries. And like in many other areas, Gujarat has been a front runner in this respect. It was the first state, as I mentioned earlier, to launch its Viksit Gujarat at 2047 vision document in January 24. Today, Gujarat is ranked very high. It is 5th in GDP among all states and 8th in per capita income. Its vision targets $3.5 trillion in GSDP and per capita income of $38,000 or $40,000, which means that it has to grow at 12, 13, 14% per year. And similarly, the HDI indicators need to improve. So these are formidable targets. However, whether it is Gujarat or whether India as a country, we can draw lessons from examples in history. History shows that nations can change their destinies dramatically. Meiji Restoration in 1860s and 70s stands out as one of the most remarkable episodes of rapid modernization and economic growth. Japan again transformed from post-war devastation to become world's second largest economy within 30 years. South Korea's GDP increased dramatically from about $160 in 1960 to $6,500 in 1990 and now $35,000. China's story, we all know, is even more dramatic. So what is particularly instructive is the speed of these transformations. In each case, it took just 25 to 30 years. Darren Acemoglu and James Robinson, who won the Nobel Prize for Economics last year, they won the prize for their work that rise and fall of nations is shaped by institutions and policies that they adopt. One of the more striking examples of the power of governance choices, policy choices, in their seminal work, Why Nations Fail, The Origins of Power, Prosperity and Poverty, is the difference today in the per capita income of North Korea and South Korea. It is 60 times, although they were one country till 1953. Same culture, same geography, but the difference that exists today is it couldn't be more. So what we need now is a shift in our grammar of governance. In the ministries at center, in states, in cities, number one, we have to equip ourselves to think beyond incremental improvements. Institutionalize strategic long-term thinking. Second, we have to embrace trust-based governance. We need to get central and city governments out of doing business themselves. That is number three. Four, we need state governments and also the cities to make growth and job creation their number one priority. Number five, we have to improve state effectiveness. State effectiveness meaning improving the quality of basic governance, of service delivery, and the speed of decision making. And number six, we need a total restructuring of urban governance. So on strategic thinking, I think we are beginning to get our act together now. The Prime Minister has this, articulated this long-term vision. Planning Commission has been replaced with NITI Aayog for long-term strategic thinking. States have been encouraged and supported to set up similar institutions. Gujarat again was amongst the first of the block with Gujarat Rajya Institute for Transformation Grit. Number two, the trust-based governance. For far too long, our regulatory frameworks have remained based on or premised on colonial mindset of distrust. And we have created, therefore, elaborate mechanisms of control that stifle enterprise and innovation. We need a clean break from this and move to a governance paradigm which views citizens as partners. And since 2014, under Prime Minister's inspiration, significant progress has been made in this regard. We all know the story of India's improvement in the ease of doing business of the World Bank rankings. More than 42,000 unnecessary compliances have been removed or simplified. And now to impart fresh momentum to this, a high-level committee on regulatory reforms has been set up in August this year to develop a modern, flexible, and people-friendly regulatory framework. Gujarat has always been one of the most progressive and business-friendly states. In the latest Business Reform Action Plan rankings of the Government of India, Gujarat was the only state in the highest category of fast mover. But now it should bolster its position as a leader in reforms and move beyond compliance reduction to address the cost of doing business and cost of regulation. Every redundant inspection, every delay in approval, every unnecessary documentation translates directly into real economic costs and diminishes the global competitiveness of our firms. So we must rid ourselves of all such distortions which render our businesses and firms uncompetitive, and to institutionalize this approach, the high-level committee which I mentioned just now is developing a framework grounded in first principles. For example, licensing should be required only for high-risk activities. Why should we require license for other activities? Registration can do, and registration should be self-registration. Licenses should normally have perpetual validity. See, those who issue licenses have the authority to revoke or suspend in case of any violation. Inspection should ordinarily be risk-based and conducted by accredited third parties and not by government inspectors. New regulations should not be introduced thoughtlessly at random, but follow a fixed annual calendar. So these are some of the things going forward that we can or should do. Trust-based governance also means that jail time is reserved only for serious offenses involving national security or serious risk to health or human life. Penalties should be proportionate and corrective. It's encouraging to note that Gujarat has enacted its own Gujarat Jan Vishwas Act recently, decriminalizing minor offenses under 11 acts, on the lines of a landmark Jan Vishwas Act which was promulgated by the central government in August 2023, again inspired by the Prime Minister. This act decriminalized in one stroke 183 provisions across 42 central acts, replacing the draconian threat of jail time, which leads to harassment and extortion, rent seeking, with civil penalties for relatively minor and non-malicious violations. And now we are working on Jan Vishwas 2.0, which is before the Parliament. So I would suggest that Gujarat should continue this momentum and review all existing acts and laws. The path to Viksit Bharat or Viksit Gujarat or any Viksit state will have to come through regulatory liberation, which frees citizens to concentrate their energies on innovation and enterprise and not worry about being sent to jail or being threatened to be jailed for reasons which I need not dwell further. So my third point I mentioned earlier also was getting government out of business. Government should focus on its core sovereign functions, upholding the rule of law, ensuring national security, and providing public goods like education, health, and social protection. The transformation at the national level of defense and space sectors in recent years exemplifies what is possible. Previously, defense platforms, arms, ammunition, even socks and shoes for the defense forces were reserved for PSUs or the Ordnance Factory Board, which was run like a government department, not even a PSU. And now private sector is manufacturing advanced platforms and missiles and howitzers, and our defense exports have grown 30-fold in the last 10 years. Space startups have proliferated, producing rockets, satellites, and satellite-based services. I think states also need to replicate this and examine the relevance of the continued existence of government in the area of doing business, the PSUs. I read somewhere, according to a CAG report of 2023, that Gujarat has 101 state PSUs. So I think we need to revisit this thing. And we also need to undertake monetization of assets in the government sector, state sector, on the lines of what was done in the Government of India, the National Asset Monetization Pipeline, which can free up resources for spending on creating public infrastructure. And NITI Aayog is helping the states to providing them with technical assistance for this purpose. On the fourth point of states creating a facilitative policy and regulatory environment, I think they should capitalize fully on their strengths and natural advantages. Gujarat, I think, has the longest coastline amongst all states in India and huge potential for port-led development and become a top destination for shipbuilding. Then the services sector, the industry has been the backbone for a long time, but services sector also presents a great opportunity. Gujarat has launched its Global Capability Center policy recently, only the second state after Karnataka, and it's a very timely move, aiming to attract 250 new GCCs, mobilize 10,000 crore rupees in investments, and create large number of skilled jobs by offering capital subsidies and other incentives. Tourism is another sector. Gujarat ranked second amongst all states in attracting foreign tourists, which is quite remarkable. However, it should be a sobering thought for us that some cities in the world, like Paris, it alone attracted 8 times as many international visitors as Gujarat last year, and India as a whole captured only 1.45% of international tourists worldwide. We have a huge untapped potential. Gujarat, for example, the white desert of Kutch and Asiatic lines of Gir, I don't have to tell you, and Somnath, Dwarka, the spiritual centers, Vadnagar, Rani Ki Vav. I had the pleasure of visiting some years back. The India's oldest continuously inhabited city, Vadnagar, and the Statue of Unity. The tribal and coastal districts need special and focused attention to catch up with the more developed regions, and human development will need much greater focus for Viksit Gujarat to become a reality. In attracting foreign direct investment, Gujarat ranks third nationally. It hosts India's first commercial semiconductor fab in Dholera, first private sector aircraft manufacturing initiative. India's recent success in mobile manufacturing, the Apple story, should be a case study for officers. I think Gujarat can also work to and identify the top 50 or 100 global companies in different sectors and do whatever it takes, like it was done for Apple, to make them come and set up manufacturing here. And then the supporting MSME ecosystem will flourish spontaneously. So with a long-term vision in place and given its proven track record of continually outperforming most other states in business reform actions, I think Gujarat is well positioned to be among the first Viksit Rajyas in the country. The fifth point of enhancing state effectiveness is extremely important, particularly at service delivery level. It's crucial for improving human development indicators in health, nutrition, important for public safety and justice, which is important for the well-being of citizens, and key contributor for productivity and attracting investments. And we should also remember that weak delivery disproportionately impacts the poor and vulnerable who have no choice but to rely on public services. So here what I think we need to do much greater, do much more in building the capacity of field officers who are at the cutting edge of governance, continuously upgrade their skills, their technical knowledge, behavioral skills. And technology can be a great enabler, as has been demonstrated by India's digital public infrastructure, CoWIN, GEM, and so on. I think we have done a very good job here, and we are among the best in the world, but I think we can fully leverage technology for improving the delivery of services. Good governance also needs diverse expertise. I think we should open up the government and allow the entry of domain experts. It should be welcomed as an opportunity, not only in ministries, but in all organizations, to infuse talent and introduce competition. when I used to interact with young officers, I used to sense a sense of, unease amongst them that why lateral entry is being allowed. I think we should encourage it, and the country on who we have modeled our civil service structure, they have embraced this lateral entry and competition long ago. I don't think we should shy away from this. Lastly, urbanization. I think it is one of the most dynamic forces which is shaping our future right in front of us at a speed that is phenomenal. From less than 50% now, Gujarat will be 70% urban by 2047. So huge numbers will be added to the cities. This presents both immense challenges and opportunity, because cities have been the engines of growth worldwide, crucibles of growth. That cities are where the enterprise and capital converge, creating wealth and opportunities. So realizing Viksit Bharat and Viksit Gujarat will depend on our ability to harness the potential of the cities. Gujarat has shown commendable foresight in preparing for this transformation. It was the first state to partner with NITI Aayog to launch the Surat Economic Region Master Plan, and now building on this model, the state is rolling out 5 additional regional economic plans. However, it's our urban governance framework that needs to be overhauled. Despite the 74th Amendment, which mandated 18 functions to be devolved to the urban local bodies, effectively, very few have been vested in the urban local bodies in most states. And Gujarat, I don't think, is an exception. Urban governance in our cities across the country remains fragmented, with water, transport, electricity, even planning scattered across separate agencies, reporting to state governments rather than the municipal corporation. Mayors in most states are indirectly elected. They have short terms, 1 year or 2 years. Municipal revenues have remained stagnant, around 1% of GDP, far below international comparators of 7 to 14%. I think we need to create truly empowered city governments with directly elected mayors and 5-year terms, and adequate fiscal transfers to cities through state finance commissions as mandated by the Constitution, investing all urban services and planning functions with municipal corporations. In New York and London, even police reports to the mayors. To conclude, governance transformation is the prerequisite for economic and social transformation. We have to reimagine the role of state, move from control to trust, from process to outcomes, and we have to incentivize innovation and transformation over incremental improvement. I think by empowering our cities, districts, and panchayats and improving state effectiveness, we can unlock India's true potential and Gujarat's true potential. And Gujarat has been amongst the best states in the country. It can become the lighthouse for other states in the journey towards Viksit Bharat. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Sure. It's not compulsory. All right.
Rajiv,
Yeah.
I mean, not exactly related with it. So, since you have been at the helm of the affairs for very long, the young people over here, what sort of message would you give them to aspire in life, to become a good civil servant, how can they become a good civil servant?
First of all, I think those who enter our civil service, they should, have this realization or appreciation that the kind of opportunities that civil services in India offer, they are unparalleled. So they should regard themselves as privileged to have entered the civil service, because the opportunity that you get to contribute to public welfare, to nation building at a relatively young age and in diverse areas, in implementation, in providing inputs in policy making, in designing schemes, those you do not get in any other country on the strength of one examination. Let's face it. So make the most of it. So my message to it is that you should feel lucky and privileged, and do not, believe or be under the illusion that you have been chosen to run the country or the state. It's a democracy. You are there to work for the elected government, but you have a great opportunity to contribute, and what you will be able to contribute will depend upon the skills that you acquire, the knowledge that you keep, acquiring, and above all, have a sense of empathy for the people, whom you serve. So that would be my message. Often what happens is that having got in, then we forget too soon the hardships and troubles that people who are not in the government, they experience on a day-to-day basis. We enter a comfort zone and we are able to, help our friends and family get work done, the work we should get done in the normal course. But if this doesn't happen for the society at large, then we have failed. That's what I would say. Yes, please.
Sir, of course, the problems and the challenges for the administrations are, administration is changed. I mean, they have changed over a period of 50 years. What we had after the independence, we had almost similar uniform problems. But now the problems have become state specific, and they have changed over a period of time. Sir, how do you think green being developed in a, is there any possibility of green being developed in on the same lines when NITI Aayog caters to the policy reforms requirement of the central government vis-a-vis state government here?
Why not? You see, we had the planning commission in the central government, and we had similar institutions in the states. Mostly they followed the central government. There used to be planning boards. I was in Bihar, then Jharkhand, you had planning board, there was a planning commission there. Now, in 2015, NITI Aayog was created. It totally changed the center-state dynamics, also the dynamics between that body and the ministries. So planning commission was more, into micromanaging and deciding the allocations, in a way also duplicating the function of the finance ministry. So the states also are now setting up, Gujarat, like you have grid. So you have to, I don't know how it is structured here, but we have advised all states that they should also follow the same pattern, that because the ministries are, neck deep in day-to-day management. Right? They are implementing schemes, they are doing firefighting, they may have sometimes, very outstanding, remarkable people that they're able to still find time for long-term strategic thinking. But if body like NITI Aayog or GREAT or similar institutions in the states, they are full-time doing, they are not in execution, so they have the time to engage in long-term visioning and thinking. Also, they have greater flexibility in working with the academia, with think tanks, with other such organizations, bring all these together and work closely with the ministries. So they can help prepare new policies, new schemes, fine-tune the existing schemes and policies, evaluate the effectiveness of the ongoing schemes. So if the role of such an institution is clear to the ministries, to the departments and the NITI or the state institution, then they will, we would have achieved our objective. Ministries should not feel that that institution is trying to micromanage them. That institution should not get into execution itself. So that's how it is. Okay. Thank you.
I have a question, and then I will also request all the trainees who are here from this PIPA. I think it's a great opportunity for you to learn from sir and ask very relevant questions. So just feel free to ask questions. It's not a very formal kind of situation. So you talked about lateral entry and basically to translate this vision of developed India and developed Gujarat, we definitely need very skilled manpower and which is also aligned towards these goals. Now these goals have been very clearly laid out in these vision documents. But to translate that vision into actual execution, you need a kind of workforce which is also aligned towards vision and works towards that. Lateral entry definitely is an option, but what should be done for the people who are already in the system? Like in Gujarat, we have more than 5 lakh employees who are working. And many of them have just joined or they're in the middle of their career. How to align them with this vision and how to translate that vision in execution?
Yeah, so you see in many countries, or some which I had the opportunity to visit or see, training is very regular, you see. Like in, when I was Additional Secretary Home, I had the opportunity to go to Israel and in year 2015. So every policeman, everyone in the forces, they undergo a training every year, right? Now, in order to train people with that frequency, you require that sort of, infrastructure. So, you will require institutions, you require, faculty, you will require to spare officers to go undergo training. So, what has happened here in India is that training opportunities have been disproportionately higher for the senior civil servants, right? And those at the lower ranks have been really comparatively fewer opportunities are available. And then you also find, that because people are overburdened, so the organizations are not prepared to spare the officers. Some officers are reluctant to go for training themselves. So all kinds of problems are there. So how do we address this? So I think the solution lies, one big solution is technology. So you are aware of the platform that has been created, Aayog. It's a game changer. And the kind of modules that are available on that in terms of range, duration. They are, whether it is soft skills, behavioral skills, or technical knowledge, all are available, and it is expanding. So that can help us overcome the demand-supply problem. But we also need to then, tweak our the annual assessment policies and the promotion policies in such a manner that when supply has been made available, then there is adequate incentive and disincentive. Structure is also there. Then only this will happen. Lateral entry is a different issue. So on that, I have already said, but I will like to emphasize the point, that the those who are in the permanent civil service, they should not, first of all, have this sense of entitlement that because they have got in, so certain jobs or all jobs are or should remain reserved for them. Government has a right to choose the right person for the right job, the best people for the various jobs. That is number one. And number two, that even from the career advancement point of view, there is, I think, ample opportunity for the two streams to coexist. Thirdly, there are certain skills which are getting so rapidly outdated, and the advancements and developments outside are so fast. For example, cyber security. You cannot have those who are recruited in the government, maybe even in technology field 10 years or 20 years back, to possess those skills. You will need to get people from the market to be able to meet the challenges that we face today. So we will have to open up, and we will have to have our remuneration and incentive structures in place so that the people with the right skill sets come and stay. Yeah.
Sir, what role does environmental sustainability play in achieving the vision of Viksit Bharat? And how is NITI Aayog mapping environmental issues and addressing the same? And how?
Environment.
Yes, sir. Because it cannot be ignored nowadays, sir.
Pardon?
It cannot be ignored nowadays. So is NITI Aayog focusing on that portion or not?
Environment, of course, is extremely important. Sustainable development has been our declared policy all along. We have to strike the right balance, between development and environment. Where that right balance lies in terms of policies and regulations, that is something which we have to constantly study and develop our regulatory framework and refine it from time to time. NITI Aayog comes to the help of the ministries, as I explained earlier, in examining what is happening globally, what are the best global practices, and examine the relevance of our policies, whether they need to be changed, and also it depends on the ministries. So it's a two-way street. NITI Aayog cannot, impose itself on a ministry. So ministries see value in NITI Aayog's advice, but that is how it works. We work with the ministry. So environment also, yes, like in other areas, NITI Aayog is working with the Ministry of Environment to meet the emerging challenges, whether it is climate change or whether it is waste management. Yes, please.
Hello. Yes, sir. As a part of this aspiring youth of this country, and you as the aspiration of mine to being at that position, I would like to ask you, sir, that we haven't seen in the past that the dearth of policies and the plans and the schemes by the government in every sector. If we see the agriculture, we'll see the different schemes for the MSP, or it would be the APMC Mandi or like that. If we see in the infrastructure sector, we will see the corridors projects going on and the other projects. So, sir, my question is that being a part of NITI Aayog member, what challenge you face from the side of public, that what approach this the people of this nation should follow to being a good to being the part of good governance, and at the side of the administrative department, what are the challenges you see that those needs to be tackled down to have good governance or to the vision of 2047, or to cater down to the opportunities like demographic dividend of the country? Thank you, sir.
Very difficult question.
Sorry.
I didn't quite follow your. Can you rephrase your question?
In short, my question is, what's the challenges in front of NITI Aayog from the side of what you think that what approach needs to be changed from the side of people? What you expect from the people of this country?
People don't need to change any approach.
Okay.
People
Okay.
deal
And
with the
what are the administrative challenges what are the administrative loopholes which needs to be tackled down to be on the good governance part?
I think I already dwelt on all this in my address.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening all of us. So thank you, sir. You have not only shared your vast experience, but also provided a clear vision of how strong governance, innovation, and reform can propel India towards becoming a Viksit Bharat at 2047. And at this juncture, we would like to thank you, sir, by presenting a memento as a mark of our gratitude. I would request Sri Harit Shukla, sir, Principal Secretary, ART DGAD, to present a memento to Sri Rajiv Gauba, sir. Thank you. And now, I would request Ms. Kajal Badodaria, Vice Chairman, the Secretariat, to present a memento to Sri Rajiv Gauba, sir. Thank you, and I also request Ms. Mahua Venkatesh, editor of the Secretariat, to please come forward and present a book to Honorable Sri Rajiv Gauba, sir. Thank you, and I now request Sri C.C. Kotak, Deputy Director General SPIPA, to present a memento to Sri Mihir Wadkar, Officer on Special Duty. Sri Mihir Wadekar, thank you. So with this, we come to the conclusion of this session. Thank you, everybody. And our today's theme, Viksit Gujarat for Viksit Bharat, the governance imperative, beautifully captured the spirit of transformation and good governance that guides our collective efforts. And let us take forward the idea shared today to strengthen the link between the Viksit Gujarat and Viksit Bharat through commitment, innovation, and excellence in governance. Thank you, everybody, for being there here today for this special session, and a special thanks to our honorable speaker, sir. Thank you. We can all join for the high tea. Thank you.